Well, and a week after the Ravens did a great job of covering Davante Adams relative to what, Davante Adams usually does. Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator of the Ravens, was talking earlier in the week about how they don't have to quite do the same thing with Bengals receiver Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Let's not give him a gold jacket quite yet. And that was on Burrow's mind yesterday. He talked about it after the game. We played a little of it last night on Football Night in America. Here is some of what Burrow had to say about the words of Wink Martindale from earlier in the week.
Joe, did you see the comments this week from Mike Martindale about not giving you a gold jacket just yet?
Yeah, I did.
Did that mean anything to you at all? Did it resonate with you at all?
I didn't think it was a necessary comment. I wouldn't say I was offended by it. I mean, I'm in year 2. Who knows what's going to happen down the road, but I didn't think it was a necessary comment.
Was it on your mind when you were throwing at the end for 525?
Maybe.
John, what are your thoughts on 2 minutes left, they're up by 20 points. They go empty, throw a 50-yard pass. What are you thinking at that point?
They call their plays. We call our plays.
The words from John Harbaugh at his press conference slightly different from the reaction that we saw as Harbaugh left the field. And many of us in this business have been on the wrong end of a face-to-face John Harbaugh lecture. I know it when I see it. And I saw it yesterday because, and Matt Casey can attest to this, he was there to witness it back in 2013 at the league meetings in Arizona. I have been on the receiving end, if we have that footage, of Harbaugh basically saying to Zach Taylor, and the lip readers out there have confirmed that it's something along the lines, and frankly, my lip reading days are over now that my earpiece is working again. I'll explain later exactly what was wrong. There was a very high-tech, there was a very, very detailed and elaborate technical fix for it. But it was something along the lines of, why'd you run that play there at the end? Because what happened was 2 minutes left on the clock. They threw the ball deep to get Joe Burrow over 500 yards, a 52-yard catch and run to Joe Mixon. And Burrow told me after the game, in the fourth quarter, they recognized they had a shot at 500, and they were going to go get it. He didn't know the record was 544. He didn't say this, but maybe they would have tried to get to 544. Onside kick, get the ball back. I don't know, score the touchdown, keep going and keep going. But here's the play that happened with 2 minutes remaining in the game that put him at 525. It wasn't necessary. They were up 20 points. It was 3rd and 4, so, they could have run the ball, chewed some clock, maybe punted, maybe gone for it on 4th down and turned it over if they had to. It's 20 points. You're not going to blow a 20-point lead in a minute and a half. But here's Harbaugh. If you see him, where do we have it? I've been waiting for Harbaugh. We'll get Harbaugh. We'll get Harbaugh. But anyway, look, Harbaugh can't complain about it publicly, Mike, because all the way back in week 4, remember when Vic Fangio complained about the Ravens running the ball in a situation where they absolutely, positively should have taken a knee. Harbaugh defended it, saying, this streak means a lot to us to have 100-yard games, and they tied the Steelers all time. So Harbaugh knows he would be a hypocrite there. Why'd you run that play right there? Why'd you run that play? See, he knows he can't say anything about it now. And he also has in his pocket now going forward the ability, if he ever does something like that in the future, he can say, I didn't complain about it when the Bengals did it to me. Well, he didn't complain about it publicly, but he definitely had something to say. I'm telling you, folks, I've been Zach Taylor in that conversation. He definitely had something to say about it to Zach Taylor.
How great, if in fact your lip reading is right, and he said, was it necessary to run that play? How great would it have been for Zach Taylor to have that quick of recall and say, well, it was about as necessary as you running Lamar Jackson to keep your streak of 100-yard games going on. That would have been one of the great comebacks had he said that, because that's exactly what went on. Zach could have said, listen, not many guys have thrown for over 500 yards. We wanted to give him over 500 yards, just like you wanted to keep your streak of 100-yard, rushing games going. I mean, it's basically that simple, and I don't have a problem with it. Again, man, this is pro sports. You don't like it, stop them. That's just the way it goes, And, going all the way back, to Joe Burrow and Wink Martindale. Listen, Wink, probably shouldn't have said that publicly. But again, is that something Joe Burrow needs to be motivated to throw 500 yards? I don't know. But, because what Wink Martindale was thinking or what he said was true. It's like, wait a minute, this guy's in his second year. Let's not anoint him, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time yet. Let's hold off on that. But I'll tell you what Joe Burrow and these young Bengals are doing, they're showing the rest of the league, hey, we're here, we're performing now. So I think they're getting the respect around the league that they think they should be getting right now for how they're playing.
And I asked Burrow specifically about the question of potential criticism for trying to get to 525 or 500 or whatever the goal was. And he said, this is the NFL. This isn't Pee Wee. This isn't high school. You play until the final whistle. I don't care what the score is. We've been in spots where teams go out there and do that to us. The Ravens, did it to us last year. No sympathy from me. And that was Burrow's position on it. And, Mike, I'm trying to discern Zach Taylor's response to John Harbaugh. I'm pretty confident about what Harbaugh said. And there's no way that Taylor said enough to articulate the point that he should have made, that it didn't stop you when you wanted to get to 100 yards. But maybe Zach Taylor simply says right here to John Harbaugh, Vic Fangio says hello and walks off. That would be the perfect retort to John Harbaugh in that situation. But I suspect that's why he didn't complain about it. Somebody reminded him or he reminded himself. You cannot. Right. Because that's all anyone to play. They'll put a montage together of Fangio and you from week 4 and you from today. You cannot do it. So to his credit, he did not do it when it was time. But you know what? He'll meet with reporters today. Sometimes the thing about that competitive Harbaugh nature, they kind of give into it sometimes, and maybe John Harbaugh will have something to say about it today.
Yeah, you're right. He can't, and I would imagine either he had the recall of it or somebody did say something to him that he can't complain about. Listen, I mean, this it's almost crazy that we're talking about it this much. The bottom line is what Joe Burrow said is right, man. It's the pros. This isn't a place to complain about any of that. You get ready each week. Getting ready each week is a monumental task for every single game. And then there are reasons in that game why you do certain things. And listen, I've been ripped over the years for saying what I've been saying to you this morning. So, oh man, what kind of message is that showing to college or to high school kids or to Little League? And you know what? My thought is, man, if some Little League kid is watching that and saying, Coach, why are they running that up? And said, you know what, son? If you reach to the NFL someday, you go ahead and do that. While you're playing on my Mighty team, you don't. It's that simple. All right? You just tell them you don't do it at that level. If you make it to the top level, man, all bets are off. You're a pro athlete. That's just the way it goes. If you get your butt kicked and the score run up on you, so be it. Deal with it in the film room. Deal with it on the practice field the next week.
The only thing I wrestle with, and I don't have the answer to this, there is a point where it is appropriate to just take a knee and get out of Dodge and avoid a rep that could expose someone to an unnecessary injury. That was the complaint about the Ravens back in week 4. But right there, it was 3rd and 4. There was 2 minutes left. It wasn't time to start taking knees. They were going to run a play there. The question was, are they going to throw it? Or are they going to run it? Either way, there's going to be an incremental injury risk to all players on the field. So that isn't really the concern in that spot. And what they did once they got to 500, they didn't try to score. They took knees. They took knees and avoided any further potential risk for injury. But I think the NFL would advocate at this point, once the game is decided and you are at the point where you can take a knee and not have that extra rep that is going to potentially get someone injured, because there's always that one extra rep that does it. That's why they've tried to de-emphasize certain aspects of the game. You don't want that extra risk of injury because it adds up and you do get guys injured. But that didn't come into play on that. They were going to call a play. They were going to do something, and we saw what they did, and the end result, 5:25, and the Bengals are on their way.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.